Welcome to our first spring Twitch session brought to you by the Michigan High School Esports League. I'm Jackson Sparks. I'm the manager for the Eastern Michigan University Rocket League team, as well as a college intern for MHSEL. We're excited to be offering the first of 3 Twitch sessions this spring. MHSEL had game strategy sessions last fall, but this time we're focusing on the gamer, not the game. Tonight we'll be focusing on collegiate esports and what it takes to play at the next level. Learn what it takes to be part of a program, scholarships, and more. We are joined by Chris Bilski, Director at MSU, and Carl Leone, Director at OU. We hope you enjoy this broadcast, and if there are any Michigan high school students watching tonight, feel free to visit mhsel.org to learn more about our league.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Chris, I'm going to let you take it away. You've got a shiny green badge, so I'm going to let you go ahead and go first.
All right. Well, thank you once again for the opportunity to meet and chat with you all today. I'm very fortunate to have Carl here to help me get through this. So excited to do this again. But yeah, like I said, we're here today to talk about collegiate esports scholarships and what they are, what opportunities there might be out there for students, really just to kind of get as much information as we can out to you so that you can be best prepared as you're looking at colleges or the next stage of your esports career. And so, like I said, we'll start with a little bit of introductions here.
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Carl Leone, esports head coach here at Oakland University. Our program has existed, and I've been running everything here for the last 3 years now. We're right at the end of our 3rd competitive season. Really happy about that. But before I was here, I was actually a college esport athlete myself, competed at Robert Morris University on scholarship. Way back in the day, it was the first school to ever give out scholarships. So that was a great experience. Then I coached at Aquinas College for the League of Legends team, eventually moving on to Oakland. So some of our achievements here at Oakland, our Smash team has placed top 10 in the U.S. multiple times now. We actually just finished in the top 8 this past fall season, so I'm really happy about that. Our Collegiate Rocket League team placed in the top 12 in the world last year when they went to the Sierra World Championships. And then our League of Legends team went to CLL North playoffs and by happenstance lost in the playoffs to MSU. So if I seem salty towards Chris, that's why. That experience, I don't like him anymore.
Well, as Carl said, and Jackson stated, my name is Chris Bilski. I am the Director of Esports at Michigan State University. I've been in the esports industry for over 6 years now. I actually worked in the industry before I got into the collegiate scene. I'm the first ever hire at Michigan State University. We're really, I was brought on to kind of take our programs to the next level. And part of that is that we're building out a dedicated esports space on campus, and we're launching our varsity program for next fall. We're looking at doing Smash, Rocket League, Valorant, and League of Legends for our varsity program. So if you play any of those games and you're a high-level player, we do have very good teams on campus, as Carl kind of alluded to with just our league team. But if you're a high-level player interested in potentially playing in college, or if you're just a student who enjoys being a part of a community around esports, our club has like 1,000 members in it. Some of our recent achievements at the Grisden Invitational at Oakland University, we took both 1st and 2nd place in Super Smash Brothers. And like I said, we do have scholarships available for those players who make our competitive teams. So I'd like to start off when talking about scholarships. I think one of the big places to start is what games are colleges playing, right? So if you're a player, whether you're playing for a high school team or you're not, if you're looking to get a scholarship, it's kind of good to identify what games colleges will likely be identifying or offering scholarships in. And so there's kind of a top 5. These numbers you'll see in kind of the graphic here. Those are numbers that are collected and put out there by a research group called Esports Foundry. And it shows you the percentiles of what games colleges are offering. And so there's kind of a clear top 5 when you look at them, and that there's 5 different games that more than 50% of universities out there are offering, and in doing so, usually offering scholarships as well. Those games are Rocket League being the most popular, League of Legends, Valorant, which is a newer game, but it just skyrocketed in popularity, Overwatch 2, and Super Smash Brothers. Now, that doesn't mean that if you play one of those other games that you can't receive a scholarship. That's not true. If you look at the games down the line from Call of Duty all the way to CS:GO, there are schools that offer those games and offer scholarships in them. They're just not as common as those big five. And like as we talked about with our program, we're doing Valorant, Smash Brothers, League of Legends, and Rocket League. I know Carl only offers games that are in those big five as well.
Yep, my game titles are Rocket League, League of Legends, Overwatch, and Smash. So that kind of answers one of the questions that hopped into the chat. There is, do either of your schools offer Overwatch? My team does. I imagine, does MSU have a club for Overwatch or?
We do. We have an
Okay.
Overwatch club, which I think is like 35, 40 members that meet every
Yeah.
week. And they offer multiple different club teams. They're
And
not
that's
official teams, but they do go out and play and compete.
Yeah, it's an important part to kind of keep in mind is there's two aspects of it, and most programs have both, where it's the varsity program with scholarships, and it's really the elite players on campus, and then the club members, which are people who are just really passionate about that game. And so if you fall maybe, within the top 5% of your ranked level in your game, so like League of Legends, that would be maybe be like Diamond and above, then you might want to try for that varsity program. But if you don't, there's a place for you on campuses all over, Michigan State or Oakland or otherwise, in these clubs. And, having that kind of like community around you, that family of other people who really enjoy the game as well is pretty important. And for me, it's something that made my college experience awesome. So, yeah, seeing these figures now, these are the updated figures from this past fall. So, an interesting look at it is League of Legends is going down. I think this is the first time that I've seen it below like 88 or 89%. And they've been doing these polls every year for the last 4 years. So it's interesting to see League of Legends falling down. And then Valorant before was at maybe 60%. So it's jumped up even quite a bit more than last fall. So it'd be interesting to see where these really shake out in maybe 5 years. But Chris made a good point. You can get scholarships for all these games, but you're more likely to be offered a scholarship in a game where there's just more programs out there. Statistically, there's more coaches and more spots available. So, you might not have to be as high ranking to get a scholarship. Would be the way to look at it. And it might be a little bit of a spicy topic now, Chris, but do you see tennis or taekwondo or anything on this list? Do you know what I'm getting at here?
I know what you're talking about with the recent Olympic announcement, but no, Carl, I don't see. I'm not planning on offering any of those for an esports title. I haven't heard any chatter about honestly anybody doing it, but I see where you're going with this.
That's really odd. Wouldn't you think any of the games that the Olympic? You know what? We'll move forward. I'm sorry. I'm derailing the conversation here.
No, you're good. So I just want to kind of give you a state of esports and specifically collegiate esports. In the country right now, there's over 400 colleges and universities that offer esports scholarships. So there's a lot of different, not only profiles, different sizes, different kind of focuses, but there's lots of different opportunities for students if you're looking to do esports in college. Right here in Michigan, we have roughly 30 varsity programs. It is one of the highest populated states when it comes to the number of esports programs in the states. Esports is really strong in the state of Michigan, as Carl can attest to as well. Estimated $19 million of esports scholarships offered in 2021. A vast majority of scholarships are partial scholarships. A lot of the times what makes the headlines are like the full tuition or full ride scholarships. Keep in mind, those are very rare. That is an exception, not the norm. The vast majority of schools offer a partial scholarship where that may be, a few hundred or a few $1,000s. That is what you're going to find at most colleges and most universities. Scholarships can be determined by a variety of factors. It's not always just player skill. A lot of colleges also look at attitude and academics. For me, when I'm trying to decide between players, because we have such limited, opportunities, your attitude and your grades could be the determining factor of whether or not you get a scholarship or not. And they usually are piled on top of other awards. So if you're receiving an academic scholarship to a place, the esports scholarship is usually added on top of that academic scholarship. Schools may require a student to be accepted before disclosing scholarship amounts. For me, making sure, Michigan State University is a pretty good school. Making sure that you can get in and that you do get into the university is something that I like to look for before I go too far down the recruiting path with you, right? I'd hate to kind of get to the end there and then find out that you didn't get in. And so for me, applying to a university is really something that I encourage early on in the process.
So I just want to touch on something Mark has typed in the chat. He's a high school esports coach and wondering if students should be proactive in seeking out scholarships or if coaches are able to kind of scout out players first, if they should rely on that. My answer would be for players to be proactive. It's not very often that, well, I'll put it this way. If I was a high school student and I wanted to get recruited, I wouldn't wait for the coach to find me. I would be sending, like you said in your comment, I'd be sending out videos of my gameplay. I'd be talking to them about the high school esports experience that I have because that matters. To me as a coach, I like to see that players have been on competitive teams in the past, especially high school teams, because then they know what it's like to have 4 teammates for 5 months at a time. There can be a lot of difficulties that come throughout that process. And I have a tendency to lean towards players who have team experience, even if they're a lower ranked player, slightly. I will take that player over them because I know long term they're just going to be more coachable and it's going to be a better result at the end of the day. But each coach, as far as how they scout, is different. We haven't all figured it out, and a lot of us aren't very good at scouting, to be honest with you. So if I was a player, I would just reach out to all of the coaches at all of the schools that you're interested in getting recruited for, and kind of go from there. See which coaches are responsive and who's got a spot on their team, because you're going to find that if you're an Overwatch player and you're flex support, I might not even have a spot on my roster. Just statistically, I don't have room for you. So you might want to send out maybe 3 or 4 different messages to different coaches. And if you're having trouble figuring out if a program has a college esports team, there's a few different websites that you can go to. One of them that I'll list off is lfgroup.gg. But another one would be the NACE website. You can go through the directory there. It's pretty reliable. And then at the end of the day, you can always just type in Oakland Esports Twitter and you'll find all of our information, or Michigan State Esports Twitter. You'll find all of our information. Every single program runs off of Twitter. So if there's not an esports Twitter for that college, they don't have a program. So Chris, anything to kind of touch on that?
Yeah, I think we have a few slides where we kind of go a little bit deeper into that in here. So yeah, we will definitely, like everything you said, 100%.
Gotcha.
Especially the idea of being proactive and reaching out to schools that you're interested in. Don't wait for coaches to come to you. Go to the coaches and say, "Hey, I'm interested in your school. What can you tell me about it?" And like for me as a coach, I appreciate that initiative, right? Like I like that in a player. And so, yeah, if you're interested in a school, go ahead, make the first move, reach out to them. Just some other things to know, things we might have touched on a little bit already. You never need to pay to get an offer. If somebody's telling you that, hey, just for this amount of money, we'll unlock this scholarship offer from our university, that never needs to happen. We talked about rank, attitude, being a good teammate. The earlier you apply to a college or university, the better. 100%, if you are interested in a specific college or university, like I know I have a limited number of spots and I know Carl has a limited number of spots. And so once my scholarships are used up, because I only have a certain team size, right? You might have been a great fit, but I just may not have space for you in the future. So make sure if you're interested in colleges and universities, you're getting out there as soon as you can. There is a college application. Of course, a lot of colleges use common application or, whatever university specific one, but then some may also have an esports specific application. They may have a form that they ask you to fill out with information that's important, whether it's your rank or your role or whatever that might be. And so check to see if there's an esports application as well. And then as Carl said, like look up the info of the head coaches, their emails, their Discord. My information is really easy to find. I have my Discord right on Twitter. And I know, Carl, if you do a little bit of digging, you can find both of our information.
Yep.
Carl, I'll let you talk about the last point here.
Sure. Yeah. So a bit of a secret that goes around that maybe not a lot of people know about, but scholarships sometimes can be negotiated. It kind of depends on the program itself and the coach and how it's set up. But all you need to know is, if I were in your position as a high school player and I'm trying to get recruited, and you get an offer from a coach and it seems like they're really excited, they actually want to bring you on board, and they in some cases need you, it might be worthwhile to kind of ask, hey, can you give me more scholarship money than that? You know, I'm in a tough situation. I really can't get loans, or I don't want to go that deep into debt. Is there any way you can bump this number up at all? And there's no problem in asking for it. You might get no from the coach. Sometimes coaches have no leeway, right? Sometimes they're set up to only give $1,000 of scholarship every year to every player, no matter what. Doesn't matter how good you are, they can't do anything. And in other cases, they have total discrepancy. They can change whatever they want and give you whatever number they want. So it's in your best interest to at least ask. Excuse me, sorry.
All right. So if you're a high school coach or you're a high school program watching this, just some kind of tips from Carl and I to help get your program and your players noticed. One is invite us to visit. I love visiting high schools, or honestly, I love having high schools visit if that's an option to bring your team to our space. But do visits, whether they're just in general, whether they're to your school or whether they're to our schools. Use social media to market your players for recruitment. You can see this is just an example of a graphic, but put your players out there, right? Do senior spotlights or talk about the accomplishments and highlights of your team. Like, I will tell you that there are definitely a lot of players who get recruited because their high school put them on their Twitter. Like, very quick and easy way to help get your players that opportunity and the chance to get scholarships. Same thing, keep track of scholarships that they're getting. Try to get media coverage for them as much as you can. And then, reach out to coaches through social media, email, Discord, and keep in contact with alumni to help build relationships. Alumni, a lot of times, will be, especially in the early stages of your program, alumni can be some of your most powerful allies to help out your team. Social media, we talked about this, and we kind of just want to continue to go on this. You see the graphic here on the right of the most popular platforms used for recruiting high school students. So Twitter, 76%. As Carl said, pretty much everybody has a Twitter in esports. It's kind of where esports recruiting or announcements and things live. Discord, we all have Discords as well. So if you can find our Discord information, it's a great way to get connected with us. Just a couple other platforms, LFG, Spin, eFuse, Be Recruited. There's plenty of other like recruiting sites that are out there, but Twitter and Discord, easiest way to get exposure, easiest way to connect with coaches. Also, like I said, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, not as popular.
The most popular third-party source is, I guess, what I would call them, would be Stay Plugged In. You know, the company that's built to recruit for esports. Twitter and Discord are really useful tools for it, but they're not really built for it as much. Stay Plugged In does a really good job. A lot of coaches are on Stay Plugged In, and Be Recruited is useful too. I've got a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Be Recruited, just because there's not a lot of players on there and there's a lot of coaches on there. So you sign up for Be Recruited, you're going to get a lot of messages from a lot of different coaches. So as a coach, it's a little bit difficult to scout on those websites. And we got a comment, somebody's on Be Recruited, got over 100 contacts for Rocket League. And that doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's just not that many players on there. So stay plugged in. But again, coaches are not, I mean, they should tell you, a lot of coaches are not good at scouting and recruiting, and nobody likes to talk about it, but it's true. So if you reach out to a lot of coaches and you put in the manual effort, you'll find a home, and you'll find scholarship offers for sure.
Side note about Stay Plugged In, that is a paid service. So players do need to pay on there to connect with colleges, and vice versa. Colleges and universities have to pay on there to connect with students. So take that for what you will, but it is the largest and most popular kind of third party at the moment.
Yep.
Some social media tips from Coach Bilski and Coach Leone here. So if you're a student, keep your profile professional. I can tell you that there are multiple cases where I've been interested in a student and then went to their social media profile and was no longer interested in that student, whether that was because of their profile picture or some of the things that they had tweeted or even some of the things that they had retweeted on their Twitter. Keep it professional. You never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at what you're writing. And, it could cost you opportunities in the future.
It might sound far-fetched, but every time I reach out to someone and recruit them, I always check their social media first. It's a really easy way to tell if somebody's not a great fit for my program. It's just to look them up on Twitter or what have you.
Yeah, because we're not just recruiting the player, right? We're recruiting the person. Just as much as are you going to fit in skill-wise with our team, I want to know if you're going to fit culture-wise with my team. And so you can find a lot out about people from what they post on social media.
Yeah,
And
it's a long-term commitment. I mean, if I bring in a student, I want them to be here for 4 years, and I don't want to bring someone in for 4 years who isn't going to be the right fit. So to me, it's worth it. It might be a little bit invasive, but hey, we're living in that era where you just have to be mindful of what you're putting out on social media. So it's not just something your parents say, it's actually true. Be careful of what you're putting out there on the internet.
We've already talked a little bit about how important it is to make the first move. In a lot of these cases, you reach out to the colleges and universities you're interested in. Make sure if this is like a player profile for you, do you have your important information listed? What games you play, if you have any accomplishments competitive wise. Even you can put your GPA on your Twitter or your social media. One thing about messaging, making that first move, your first impression is really important. So that first message to directors, Carl can agree or can add about like how many times we get a yo or a what's up or so many different things as first messages. That's a terrible first impression, right? Like keep your messages professional and try your best to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward when you're reaching out to schools.
Yeah, it might seem like it's very informal because it's over Discord, but that's just where recruiting kind of lives and where a lot of coaches like to be contacted. You should still be professional and cordial. I get "Ayo, what's up" a lot from different recruits, and I'm just not that interested in them after that. I mean, they have to be really good for me to put blinders on and ignore that. So it's just not a good first impression, like Coach Bilski said.
Yeah. So a couple other things. Research the school that you're reaching out to. I always ask, so what about Michigan State University interested you? And if it's nothing other than, oh, I heard you're offering scholarships, I'm looking for, like Carl said, somebody who's the right fit, right? You're going to be here for the next 4 years. And I want to make sure, as much as our esports program is the right fit for you, that the school is the right fit for you. That, the place where you're going to get your education is going to serve your educational needs or fit you as a person. So research the school that you're reaching out to and have questions ready. If I get asked questions by players in our initial meeting, that's always a plus for me. I love answering questions. It tells me that the student put time and effort into having this conversation, and it shows me that they're serious about potentially going to Michigan State.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions that I always ask, and I think every coach probably always asks, is what degree you're looking for at the school, right? And if I get a player who tells me they don't know what degree they're looking for and they're genuinely haven't even thought about it, that's not a good sign either, because it just means that they're focused on the esports portion. college esports is a great tool, great community, great way for you to sink yourself into something and really kind of work on yourself, but it's not the end all be all. And at the end of the day, the degree that you receive after 4 years is what's more important than the college esports program. So don't get blinded by, hey, they're a really good school nationally or what have you. It's, hey, the degree is fantastic and the education is going to be good when I graduate. Oh, and as a plus, the esports program is fantastic, and Coach Bilski seems like a nice guy too.
Well, I appreciate that, Carl. But once again, we already talked about beware of likes and what you share. Just keep that in mind when you're on social media. So when you are reaching out to schools or when you're applying to schools, this is just some kind of important information to already have collected or be ready to share with whoever you're reaching out to. Student or parent email, Discord, phone number, your grade, what your GPA is, high school, just all kind of basic information that you may be asked about or may be asked for when it comes to recruiting. All right, we're kind of here at the end before we can go into some final questions. Carl and I have put together some of our top tips. So, Coach Leone, I'll let you take it away here first.
I'm on the left half of the screen, so if I don't go first, this is just, we're doing this wrong. So, yeah, degree quality over the cost of attendance. So this is something that a lot of students are kind of blinded by when they're looking at college esports programs. Is a few things, maybe going to Michigan State or Oakland is more expensive than another school. Maybe you can get a bigger scholarship at another school. At the end of the day, the value the degree has is different depending on the school you go to. It's just not the same. Small private schools sometimes don't have great degrees. You might need to look into the quality of the degree, and you can kind of look into that online, but you need to do your due diligence to make sure your degree is going to be worthwhile. Don't just stare at the numbers and say, I got a really big esports scholarship, so that's definitely where I'm going to go. At the end of the day, how valuable is the degree? And, if I were in your position, I'd probably ask my parents about that, or maybe a counselor at school, and they'll be able to kind of help you dig into that and figure out what value the degree has. Consider the whole experience as a student. Online versus in person is a really big battle out there in college esports for us, but you may be tempted to go, get your degree from another university that's way out of range for you and you don't want to go out of state. You'll just do it online and then compete online. For me, getting an online degree, while it's still valuable, it's not the same experience. Part of going to college is kind of growing up and being independent and learning how to live on your own and getting that valuable experience and kind of rubbing elbows with everybody else who's on campus. If you're doing that online, you're missing out on half the experience there. So just keep that in mind. You're going to be paying a similar amount of money outside of housing, and to me, it's not worth it. But just at least keep that in mind, especially for college esports programs. Competing online versus competing in person is just wildly different. It is just not the same beast. I competed at Robert Morris University for 4 years, and being able to sit in a row with all of my teammates 4 times a week to practice and compete is totally different than just hopping on Discord and getting a call and playing together. And we all got to kind of experience what that was like during COVID. It's just not the same. So just keep that in mind. Asked to speak with graduates of the program. This is one of my favorite things to do when people reach out to me and they're interested in OU and they want to come, but they're also interested in other schools. I'll put them in a Discord group chat with one of my graduates who's been in the program for 3 years. You just talk to him and I'll leave. You talk to him about whatever you want. There might be questions that you have that you don't want to ask the coach of the program that you want to ask a player or a student at the university. And I think being able to do that is a powerful tool. So if you're considering between a few different universities and you're really not sure, you should be able to speak with graduates of the program. I'm sure the coach would be happy to connect you.
Yeah, it's all good tips. For me, one thing that I like to keep in mind is that cost of attendance is more important at the end of the day than the scholarship amount. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times you'll see large scholarship amounts from especially private schools. But after that large scholarship, it's still more expensive to attend that school than potentially other options that are on the table for you. So at the end of the day, when you're thinking about how much college is going to cost you, the cost of attendance is the most important number, because that's the actual number of how much you have to pull out and pay for that university or for that education. So cost of attendance, number one thing to think about when it's coming to cost. Thinking about the next 40 years, not just the next 4 years. So for me, like when you're looking at where you want to go to school or where you want to go to college or university, this is a lifelong decision for you, right? A lot of times players get caught up or just really excited about the esports program and don't think about the school itself. Is this a good fit for me? Am I going to get a quality education, like Carl said, in degree quality? And so really, when you're making a decision about where you want to go for school, you're making a decision for the rest of your life. And so think about that quality of education that you're getting. Think about whether the school is the right fit for you. Think about the entire experience that you're going to be getting. And is this school going to prepare me for what comes next? Because that's kind of our goal with our program, is that we want to help you grow and develop as an individual so that you're prepared the best you can for time after Michigan State University. So think about the next 40 years, not just the next 4 years. And last, visit campus. I see all the time in collegiate esports that students commit to a university or sign with someplace, they get on campus and they realize they really don't like that place. And so visit the campus. And the phrase I use is taste the food. Like visit campus and be immersed enough that you go to their dining hall, or you've checked out, spent the night at the campus, right? Visit campus, make sure that you're getting a real true feel for the college and the university, because hopefully this is where you're going to spend the next, or the majority of the next 4 years or more of your life. So visit campus, taste the food, get a real deep feel for what that college and what that university is like. I think that is the end of our presentation here. We can open it up to any questions that might be in the chat.
For now, I'll kind of touch on this white quarter zip that Chris Bilski is wearing here. This is clean. I mean, the white with the green Spartan logo looking great. How do you keep that so clean? I mean, you use bleach when you put it in the washer, or what? You just don't clean it.
Michigan State white never gets dirty.
Okay.
It's always clean when you're wearing Michigan State gear, Carl. That's the secret. It's always clean.
See, I feel like if I had a full white shirt, at some point I would spill something on it, and then it would just be done. I mean, there's nothing. You can't get that out.
You got to treat it with respect. That's for sure.
Yeah. Go put it away right away as soon as you're done. Just I can't eat right now. I'm wearing this white shirt. It's not a problem.
2 questions it looks like we might have coming through in the chat. I'm going to put my Discord in there too.
While we're waiting for the questions, I'm going to grab a little tool. Be right back. We have the questions yet? No. Okay. This one's Malachi. Yeah, he's
Visual aids.
Little sapperling from League of Legends. These are things that they used to give out at events, and now they just don't. Chris, you were an esports reporter in the past.
I was.
Why don't they give these out anymore? Can you ask Riot?
They still do. They did. We were at the LCS finals in Chicago, and they were tossing them into the crowd.
Okay. All right.
Well, they do. You just have to be lucky enough to catch one.
Okay. Maybe I just need to go.
You probably got yours as a care package. Did Riot send that to you when you were at Morris?
No, but they were doing it back then. We just never got it. It must have just been like the admins didn't worry about it.
All right. My first question here. How has Grayson been? I heard he got hired as the Smash organizer. Yes. Grayson Lunges Harding is coming to Michigan State University to help lead our Smash program. We are very excited. Grayson is fantastic. And I know that having him here with our program is really going to help elevate what's already, in my opinion, the strongest Smash scene in the state of Michigan. And so, having Grayson here, I'm just excited about the potential and what we can do. We really want to become kind of the hub for Smash in Michigan. Geographically, it makes sense because Smash is kind of a game that you like to play in person, right? So having a university in the middle of the state where people can travel to, it makes a lot of sense. So we're excited about having Grayson here. He's fantastic. Great hire.
Are you allowed to say that it's a great hire when you hired him?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, when it's that great, even I can say it, right?
I'm a big fan of Grayson too. I bumped elbows when we were at Aquinas, so it was definitely cool to see him move up and go to MSU. And MSU has a great Smash team there, and we do as well. I mean, we have a pretty good Smash team here as well, but yeah, I think you and I are probably gonna battle it out over the next few years over Smash Brothers, because I hired Cool Ori Bro, which is a big TO, Smash TO, at the beginning of this year, and so I've kind of planted my flag in Smash Brothers too. So, man, 3 years ago, I don't think I could have guessed that you and I would be fighting over Smash Brothers and not League of Legends, which is kind of where our background started. So
I think Michigan will have easily the strongest collegiate Smash scene in the country next year. Like, you can argue that it already does, but even more so, you could say, like, I know with the players you have coming in and the potential that we have too, like, you could have the 3 best Smash teams in the country all in the same state. And so Michigan is very, very strong for Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
We have a question here. What grade should you start looking into scholarships? I would say like junior year is probably the year when you would really start looking into making connections with coaches, making visits even. Like, if you want to start making visits junior year, that's really where I think recruiting can start to pick up is junior year.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't offer a scholarship to a sophomore. There's just way too much time until they graduate. But juniors, like really talented juniors, I'm already looking at them now for when they graduate and they're getting ready to come out. So yeah, you can definitely do it junior year. Start reaching out to coaches. They might not be completely ready for you yet. They might say, hey, let's reconnect in 6 months or so when you're a little bit farther along in your journey. But there's nothing wrong with just starting the connection there. So do you know how many schools are usually involved in Smash scene? Well, in Michigan, there's got to be at least 15 schools that actually have Smash Brothers. I know in the fall, we competed in a NACE conference with only Michigan schools, and that was 8 teams. There's other schools that don't compete in NACE, and other schools like Michigan State at the time were just in a different conference. So yeah, there's a lot of Smash Brothers. There's a lot of esports in general in Michigan. So it's definitely a good place to be if you're a Smash player and you want to go to college for it. Wait for Onan to get to college level. Really funny because Chris and I are both trying to actively recruit Onan. So I don't think that's a secret we need to shade under anybody. But
what are the rules around profanity usually like, Carl?
I prefer to run it to where we don't allow profanity, but it is a college campus, and so it happens sometimes. It's not going to be as strict as high school programs, but at the end of the day, you're representing the college, and so we want you to be professional. We don't want kids swearing all the time, and it's just we're out there having fun. I mean, we're serious. We're trying to be nationally competitive teams. We're not just messing around playing games here. So you kind of see that when teams go and travel to LAN events and they're competing in person. You get a real sense for how the programs are run because different players from different teams are kind of acting in different ways. So, Chris, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I think the basis is it's always like, for me, when you're playing for Michigan State University, you are Michigan State University, right? You are representing the brand. And so for me, there's a difference between passion and profanity a little bit for me, in that sometimes, you can have a passionate moment, but we need to be respectful of our opponents and respectful of the game itself. And so, yeah, very, very limited, if at all, profanity coming from our program.
So I can take the next one. How big is the Fortnite scene? The competitive Fortnite scene in Collegiate, there are 33% of programs out there who have Fortnite. So it is in the top 8 of games that are offered in general. But I think it's an important distinction, again, that the top 5 are much more popular than the rest. So there's a significant drop off. In the statistics, 33% of programs have a Fortnite team. Chris and I both do not have one. And to be honest with you, I don't see it growing at the college level. I think that's something that will get phased out as like Valorant and other games pick up. And also the Fortnite group will probably continue to get older and older. Right now, it's a pretty young player base, but that will grow older and older as the game does. And as the player base gets older, colleges have less high school kids to recruit, and so it kind of dies out. But yeah, for the next 5 years or so, it is there. I just don't know too much about it because I don't have a Fortnite program.
Poetic Yeti is asking, how often do practice usually happen? How long usually? And how might they be structured at each session?
Sure.
So you want to take this one first, Carl, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can take it. So it's going to vary by each program and each coach. This is an important question to ask your coach why you're being recruited, while you're sitting down and talking to them in an interview process. They should be able to tell you exactly how long practices are depending on the game. Generally, it's 2 practices a week, about 3 hours, and then 1 VOD review session a week. That's what I do every single week for every single team. And then we compete once a week as well. So all in all, you're looking at maybe 10 or 15 hours a week of time commitment for the team. There's going to be some teams that go way over that. There's going to be some teams that go way under that. For me, I find that that's a good average and a good balance to make sure that kids are focusing on, or students, excuse me, are focusing on academics too, and not maybe choosing gaming or esports over academics, because that's one of the worst things that you could do. It's important to keep in mind that almost no one is going pro from collegiate. It's just how it is. So if you're joining a college esports program just to go pro and you don't care about your classes, that's not the kind of student I want in my program, and it's not very likely you'll be successful. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, same for us. Roughly 15 hours a week, just like any other athletic team, practices, scrimmages, matches, VOD review, and then we have a fitness and nutrition portion to ours as well. And so, yeah, very similar to what Carl does. And like you said, it's because you're a student first, right?
Yep.
Like your number one goal there is to graduate, and we want to make sure that we're providing you enough time that you can get what you need to get done academically. All right, not seeing any other questions in the chat. I just want to again thank MHSEL for the opportunity to come and speak today. Carl, thank you for joining me on this podcast. If you have any questions, we both typed our Discords in the chat. You can also find us on social media. I'm at Coach Bilski on Twitter. Carl, your Twitter is?
At Coach C. Leone.
Perfect. One last question we'll sneak in here. Is gear usually provided? Yes. Well, our program provides all the gear, and I believe, Carl, you do as well.
Yeah. Correct? Any program that has a facility on campus will provide gear on campus. Now, if you're in your own dorm, you're going to have your own gear there. But yeah, you're always going to have keyboards, headsets, mice, and everything provided on campus. Another good question to ask your coach: what kind of equipment do you have? You might want to know how old their PCs are, or what kind of graphics card are they running? Is it 1060s from 4 years ago when they first started the program, or is it 3070s because they just upgraded last year?
All right, Jackson, I think we're going to toss it to you.
All right, sounds great. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Next week on Monday, March 13th at 7 p.m., we'll be doing another session focused on healthy gamer habits and what you can do with your eating, sleeping, and other wellness activities to be your best on game day. We hope to see you guys then. Have a great night.